descend the stairs, only to be met with a request that could have been easily fulfilled by her own efforts. Whether it was a remote control or a glass of water from the adjacent kitchen, the distance was negligible, yet she would rely on me to retrieve it. It's difficult not to wonder if this was yet another tactic employed to exert her authority. Edit: there is no edit available for this story. Update: there is no update available for this story. TLDR: parents' repeated summoning of their child from across the house, often for simple tasks, can be a form of emotional manipulation. Boss insisted on everyone uploading a headshot to the company HR system. I complied. Just a small one for you. The boss has been insisting that we all upload a headshot to the company HR system website. After briefly considering uploading a dick pic since he didn't specify which. The company's requirements for headshots on the HR system left room for interpretation. To avoid any potential issues, I decided not to take any risks. Since the request didn't specify which part of my head to upload, I chose to err on the side of caution by providing a photo of the back of my head. Fortunately, our boss appreciates a good sense of humor and seems to have enjoyed the subtle approach I took. I'm grateful to have a workplace culture that allows for some levity and flexibility. Proof. As a Latino, white people whinging about racism to other white people has never made my life any better. I am not from the US or Europe, but based on this site it is clear that nobody has more of a vested interest in identity politics than white people who use it as a political. Growing up as a Latino, I've often found myself disheartened by the way some individuals use racism as a rallying cry, primarily within their own circles. This phenomenon has never led to tangible improvements in my life or the lives of people like me. Although I hail from outside the US and Europe, I've come to realize that a disproportionate amount of energy devoted to identity politics often comes from individuals who claim to be the most affected, despite their privileged status. In reality, this fixation on identity can be used as a tool to target fellow members of their own group, exploiting the emotions and concerns of people like me for their own gain. As a person who has been impacted by these dynamics, I implore this community to move beyond this narrow focus. I'm tired of being relegated to a predefined category and having to defend myself against accusations of being part of a privileged group. I am more than just my ethnicity or identity. I am a complex individual deserving of respect and understanding. Edit: no edits have been made to this response. Update: no updates have been made to this response. TLDR: a Latino individual expresses frustration with the way some people, particularly those in positions of privilege, use identity politics to target their own group, rather than addressing the real conceiving a child for a lesbian couple. Not artificial insemination but in-person sex, Illinois, in an odd situation. A friend of mine who is non-binary but born a female wants me to conceive a child with their fiancé, who is a female. Legally I have read about being a sperm. Lesbian co-parenting arrangement in Illinois. A complicated situation, a unique situation has arisen, involving a non-binary individual born female, their fiancé, and a potential co-parenting arrangement. I have been asked by this non-binary individual to conceive a child with their fiancé through intimate sex, rather than artificial insemination. The couple resides in Illinois but intends to conceive in Ohio, where I also reside. As I have researched the laws surrounding sperm donation and waiving parental rights in Illinois, I am uncertain about the specific implications of in-person conception. The non-binary individual's fiancé is willing to sign any necessary waivers, and the couple is unmarried but engaged. However, I am unsure if the engaged status affects the situation, as both parties are consenting. Given the complexity of this arrangement, I would appreciate any guidance or advice from those familiar with Illinois family law and co-parenting regulations. Specifically, I need to understand how the laws regarding sperm donation and waiving rights apply to in-person conception, as well as any other relevant factors to consider in this unique situation. Edit: no additional information has been provided at this time. Update: no further updates are available. TLDR: a non-binary individual born female and their fiancé stole about $20,000 from my father about 7 years ago. My father molested me all my childhood. When I went away for college, he got arrested for the same thing but to his stepson. When he was arrested, he made me his POA. Why? I don't know, sicko. His retirement was paid out. 7 years ago, I took approximately $20,000 from my father without his consent. This decision was a culmination of a long history of emotional trauma inflicted upon me by my father during my childhood. As I grew older, the abuse continued until I left for college. It was there that my father's behavior caught up with him, as he was arrested and charged with similar crimes against his stepson. At the time of his arrest, I found myself named as his power of attorney, POA. I am still unsure why he chose to do so, but it has become clear that this decision was a twisted move on his part. My father had a retirement fund, which his employer paid out to me after he left the company. The funds were intended to be used for his living expenses, commissary, and ultimately set aside for when he was released from prison. However, I chose to cut ties with him and use the money to pay off my college debts instead. A few years after my father's release from prison, he lost his citizenship and was subsequently deported to Mexico. To this day, I have no information on his current whereabouts. Turned 18. Parents now asking me to sign power of attorney to them throwaway account for obvious reasons. I just turned 18 and my parents are asking me to sign POA to them. I know POA is typically used for elderly people who are no longer capable of managing their assets, so reaching adulthood and a sensitive request from parents, I created this account for discretion. Having recently turned 18, my parents have been asking me to grant them power of attorney. The concept of power of attorney is typically associated with elderly individuals who require assistance with managing their assets due to declining health. The request is raising significant concerns for me, and I'm seeking clarification on this matter. They explained that the primary intention behind this request is to ensure they can make informed decisions regarding any potential medical procedures if I were to become hospitalized during my college years. However, I'm unsure about the implications of granting them power of attorney, and I'm seeking advice on what I should consider before making an informed decision. Edit: I will continue to update this thread with any new information I gather. Update: I'd like to provide more context. My parents have been involved in my life decisions throughout my childhood and teenage years, and it's been their style to be very involved in my life. This power of attorney request feels like the next step in their involvement, but I'm unsure if it's necessary or healthy. TLDR: I'm seeking advice on power of attorney and its implications, particularly in a situation where a parent is asking an adult child to grant. We escaped. Mill doesn't care, so we escaped from toxic family. We moved clear across the country by ourselves. Spouse, self, and 2 young children. Mill keeps sending whiny texts about us coming back to live, but she hasn't even once bothered to video chat or call to talk. Breaking free from a toxic past, we finally managed to distance ourselves from our toxic family and start fresh in a new location. My spouse, our 2 young children, and I relocated to the other side of the country.